Hey church, good day to you. Hey, once again we're going to look at a character study, just things that we can glean from Bible characters, maybe some takeaways as we look at their lives. We're going to look at this guy Bartimaeus. We just have a brief snapshot of who this guy is, and really the only thing we know about him is he's blind. We call him blind Bartimaeus. And of the three Gospels that identify Matthew, Mark, and Luke, kind of share his story. Matthew chooses to talk about two blind men, which is interesting. And in Mark's Gospel, though, he names his name. And that's a rare occurrence. Usually those miracle stories, we don't know who the person is. But here, Mark chooses to use his name, and so we know him as Bartimaeus. Perhaps he came from a line of fame or had some influence later in life. We don't know, but it seems to be interesting that he did choose to name names. But digging deeper, his name Bartimaeus, this first part of his name, Bar, actually means son or son of somebody, and that's why the Bible describes him as the son of Timaeus. And Timaeus could mean honored one or ransomed one. Now that's interesting as we get into the story, because he was in essence ransomed from the life that he was living as a blind man. But this name could also suggest that he's unclean one, or he's in a line of unclean ones, or the son of impure ones. That's interesting. So that he was identified with the plight that he was suffering. But even then, we could see that as a redeeming story, and Jesus knew that. But as we recall this story of Bartimaeus, he is sitting outside this town of Jericho on a main road so that he can catch passersby. This was a common occurrence then, and much like today, as you had to be good at being a beggar, begging for goods and food, or you would die. And especially in this time, they didn't have a safety net. And so he had to be good at it, and I'm sure he was. And so we come upon this story that Jesus is leaving Jericho and going along the road, and when Bartimaeus hears that it's Jesus, he starts shouting and yelling. I can only imagine just going nuts, hoping to have the attention of Jesus. And as he's shouting out, people are saying, hey, calm down, Bartimaeus, just keep quiet, it's Jesus, leave him alone, you have no place anyways, you're a beggar, just keep to yourself. I wonder if he had insults thrown at him. But the interesting thing is, Matthew records that he even was louder. He kept going and going as he shouts for Jesus. In the book of Luke, it records that Jesus actually said, get him over here, like as a demand, a command, if you will, to say, get Bartimaeus over here, because I have something to tell him. And sure enough, they bring Bartimaeus over to Jesus, and Jesus says, hey, what could I do for you? And Bartimaeus just simply says, Lord, I want to see. And that's a different recording. Some of them record just rabbi or teacher, but we find out that Luke states Lord. I like that. Hey, I just want to see. And Jesus says, go, your faith has healed you. Folks, he immediately is healed, and he immediately gets up and follows Jesus. That's just an awesome story. A few things we could take away from our story of Bartimaeus. Number one, first is listening to God. If God is calling you, if he is trying to get your attention, listen. You know, take time as a believer to be in his presence. How would you ever know if he's calling you or guiding you or wanting you to listen, unless you stop and take the time with him? Secondly, don't be afraid to say no to the crowd or to distance yourself from the crowd. In the 80s, they said, going against the flow. I remember having a shirt that said that, with a fish going against the flow of the other fish. That's really what the Christian life should be. In today, we should stand out as believers, right? We're making decisions, we're doing things. Our character would suggest that we are different from the crowd. If we swear online, do people think, who are these guys? Who is Dave? If he's swearing online, is he really a believer? Look at the decisions he's making. Look at how he acts. I'm not sure if he's a Christian. How can I follow that? How can I see Christ in that? So folks, we have to be careful not to follow the crowd and be absolutely different than the rest of everybody else. And then third, follow Jesus. Follow Jesus. If you hear him calling you, respond, and respond quickly. Whether it's your first time considering Jesus and you just get up and follow immediately, or maybe he's calling you to a particular decision and you need to just hear him and follow. I like that. Walk through hearing his guiding you, and hear his counsel, and do it first. So thanks again, folks, for listening. I hope you got something out of Bartimaeus' life, and we'll see you again real soon.